So 2025, it's almost here, and you know one thing, that you've got to get into the market in some capacity next year. Whether you're purchasing a home from out of the area, you're finally taking that plunge and you're going to be moving to Bend from somewhere else. Or if you're already here and you're ready to make that lateral move, maybe you're going from renting to owning, or maybe from the east side to the west side, or the south side to the north side, or maybe you're going from a smaller house to a bigger house, or vice versa, a bigger house, you're downsizing to a smaller house. Whatever it is, you've got to get into the market in some capacity, and you've waited for a long time. You waited all of 2024, maybe even longer than that, but you know now that the year has come and gone, and it's time to jump into the market regardless of how favorable the market really is. We've waited for a long time for rates to come down. They still haven't really come down all that much, have they? Are they going to come down in 2025? Maybe, I don't know. We're not going to really discuss rates all that much in this video. We've talked about them at length already in multiple other videos, but we know that rates should come down at some point in time. That's all we can really say about it, right? But you know one thing, you got to jump into that market, okay? 2025 is gearing up. We're getting close to that, and we're going to be into the transaction season here relatively soon, sooner than you realize, about 90 days away. So, what can we do to arm you for that moment when it's time to jump into the market, whether you're selling or buying here in Bend? We're going to be discussing what that looks like. It's going to be kind of a year in review as to what happened regarding real estate in Bend over the last 12 months. So if a video sounds like it could serve you in some capacity, this type of video, please stick around. We're jumping into it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel or it's your 50th, it doesn't matter to me. And you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good with the bad of living in Bend and surrounding sunny in December. Yes, it's still sunny in Central Oregon. Then subscribe to the channel, tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market happenings here in Bend and surrounding Central Oregon. My name's Ryan. I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. My business partner, Zach, and I, we get calls and texts every day from people just like you looking for help on their next transaction as it relates to real estate here in Bend and Central Oregon. So whether you're looking to make that transaction a possibility in the next 9 days or 90, it doesn't matter to us. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, set up a Zoom. If you're local, let's go get coffee somewhere. We would love to meet you and talk about your situation. So with all that being said, we are really diving into the makeup of what Bend did in terms of transactional volume last year in 2024. I can say with pretty good conviction that it was a very slow year, especially comparing it to previous years. Now, 2023 was very similar to 2024 in terms of the volume of activity. Rates went up, of course, we all know that. They were designed to go up to slow down the market and the volume of transactions. It did just that. However, it didn't really bring down the price point of homes, right? We had 800,000 in Bend for a median home price just 2 months ago. And then more recently, we're at 700,000. We're still kind of going up that way. If you kind of zoom out, it's kind of a linear line going up. But generally speaking, we've been just kind of back and forth a little bit, but our volume's down 30 to 40%. So if we had 2,000 transactions back in 2021, we're looking at a significant decline in terms of our total volume. Maybe 1,300, maybe 1,400, maybe 1,500 transactions, okay? We're looking at a significant decrease, 30% or more. That's 600 transactions right there alone if we were using 2,000 as the barometer. So with all that being said, where are things within the scope of Bend city proper as it relates to the volume? Where are the most cost feasible parts of Bend? Where are the most desired parts of Bend with the highest price points? What parts of Bend actually have the most volume? What parts of Bend have the least days on market after a home gets listed? We're going to be diving into that and kind of looking back at the entire year as opposed to say what we normally do in these types of videos, which is just simply look at the previous month's data. But this is more of a barometer preparing you for 2025 and beyond. We'll use the local data that we have and kind of use that to our advantage. That's the goal here with today's video. Now, with Bend in mind, we know that We've done previous videos on this at length. We're talking about the 13 different distinctive neighborhoods that make up Bend. You can see the map here. We've got all of them listed here. We know that Bend is also kind of made up and divided into quadrants. We've got four quadrants. The Highway 97 corridor that goes right through the middle of town, north to south, is kind of the divider. And then we also have another divider, which is Highway 20 going east to west. It turns into Newport Avenue, and it makes all these different quadrants. We've got four of them, and they're all kind of different in their own right. They all have different vibes, different personalities, different price points. And so we're going to dive into some of that data here as we continue. Another way of looking at Bend is via the zip code map. Okay, we've got three zip codes that kind of comprise what Bend really is, the city limits. And what you'll notice here, and most people probably don't, is that 97702 is the biggest. It makes up half of Bend, and then the other two represent basically a quarter of Bend. We're generally going to have more expensive housing over in 97703 as opposed to 97701. But what can we really do? Can we break it down and really understand the difference? Is 97702 competitive with 97703? Well, let's take a look and just get a better understanding as to what's going on in the Bend area as it relates to the last 12 months of volume. And so what we have here is 97701 up here. Now, this is going to be the MLS. It's a map, and I've already put together, I've dated back for an entire year all the sales that we had in 97701 over the last year. And what you're going to notice here is that 97701 is a large zip code. It goes all the way out to eastern Deschutes County, but the vast majority of the transactions are going to be in the city limits there. The shaded area is going to be the city limits, and it's all of the northeast neighborhoods. If we go back to this map here, what we're going to see is the Boyd Acres neighborhood, we're going to see Mountain View, and we're going to see Orchard District. So we've talked about these at length, that these are the most cost feasible places, the most affordable places for first-time home buyers, and it's the most affordable part of town. But let's look at the data itself to give us some conviction with those claims. What we know about the last year in 97701, the northeast pocket of Bend, is that we're basically looking at just over 600 total sales in this little area of Bend. We had 606 sales last year. The median size home over there in the northeast pocket of Bend is going to be 1,773 square feet, and the closing price was 622,000. Now, as of this recording, our median home price is 700. So almost 80,000 alone of a decrease compared to the median home price in Bend, which is also, by the way, down 100,000 from its previous month's median home price. So if you took data back 2 months ago, it'd be down. The northeast part of town is looking at 180,000 less than the median home price from just 2 months ago in Bend. So very interesting data here. The average lot size over there is 1.39 acres, partially because a lot of it is out in the alfalfa area here. This is all parcels of land with larger acreage. This is near the Bend Airport. So country, you can see up here, it almost gets to Redmond as well. But this hopefully gives you a little bit of perspective as to the most affordable part of town. Again, median home price in Bend is $700,000 right now. And in this pocket of Bend up here where all the sales are represented, we're looking at basically $622,000 for a median home price over the last 12 months. So this is certainly going to be a affordable part of Bend, and it's probably indicative that the rest of the areas of Bend are going to be significantly higher in terms of their price point. But let's continue on and check out 97702, the south side of Bend, to give you another perspective of what happened over the last 12 years. As you gear up, everything below this line here is what we're going to look at next. As you gear up to jump into the market in some capacity sometime in 2025. Okay, so we are back now. We've got 97702. It's plugged into the MLS right now. And what you're going to notice here are all the little blue dots. Those are sales from last year, the last 12 months. We had over 900 sales in 97702. Basically, the south side of Bend. Everything below the line there is what you're going to notice. That's going to be the sales that occurred in Bend. And what if we look at the 13 neighborhood map, what we're going to basically be able to do is pin this right here in the middle. It's going to go down Larkspur. It's going to have Old Farm. It's going to have Southeast Bend, very hot and booming up and coming part of town there. Southwest Bend, Century West. This is going to be a very popular area. Tethero Resorts over here. We have Southern Crossing. This is the old Mill District and the housing that's in and around that. So it's basically 50% of Bend, right? I said earlier in the video, maybe 2,000 transactions back in more of a booming time of a market, more favorable market. And so now we're looking at a slower market, and this basically consumed half of the transactions that occurred, or more than half over the last year. If we head back over to the map here, the scatter plot that's got all the transactions listed there, we can zoom in a little bit and maybe take a quick look at some of the neighborhoods that are represented there. You can see that some of the 13 neighborhoods are now featured: River West, Summit West. But this is going to be the road out here on the road, or the way to the Mount Bachelor. If we look at some of the data here, in 97702, southern part of Bend, over the last year, we had 960 total sales, and the median price point was 715,000 for everything that you see here in the south part of Bend. Very interesting compared to the northeast part of Bend, which was seeing a median price of 622,000 in the same span of time. Now, the size of the home, the median size of home for this particular section of Bend was 1,930 square feet. So almost 200 square feet larger than the northeast part of Bend. So bigger homes over there. Lot size is about a half acre, just over half an acre. So there's going to be less country, less farmland, less ag over there. Both of these sections, the northeast side of town as well as the south side of town, saw a median days on market of roughly 27 before they went under contract. But big differences here in price point, okay? 715 south side of town versus 622 northeast side of town. And I think the next area that we're going to be exploring too, 97703, might be even more distinguished in terms of it being different than the other two. So we're going to jump into 97703, the northwest part of Bend, one of the most desired parts of Bend, next, to really kind of wrap up the video, to hopefully paint some perspective as to what's going on in and around Bend, the 13 different neighborhoods. Hopefully it gives you some perspective. Now you can go back to some of the previous videos we've done, take a look at some of those neighborhoods based off of the vlog format that they are in, to get a better understanding. But let's go through 97703, the northwest part of Bend, to wrap the video up, to give you all the ultimate perspective of what the price points in each particular section of Bend really is. Okay, so we've got 97703 up here. It is the northwest pocket of Bend. Clearly, it's going to be the Aubrey Buttes, the Summit West. It's going to be the Shevlin West. It's going to be a lot of those neighborhoods, the Westgates, the Tree Farms, a lot of very desired areas in Bend, representing the northwest pocket of Bend. We've already looked at 3/4 of Bend so far, and the median price for a home over the last year was in between 622 and 715, in that range. And so we can probably speculate now that this is going to be a significantly more expensive area of town. We'll dive into some of that data here, but let's just kind of zoom out real quick and you get a better understanding of how big 97703 really is. It's basically west. It's the western part of Deschutes County, going all the way to the edge of Sisters over here, and then it goes about halfway on the way to Redmond. So Sisters over here, and then basically Tumalo area, the old Bend Redmond Highway over here. We got Tumalo in this area, a lot of horse property, a lot of acreage over there. And so we could probably guess that the lots are going to be a little bit bigger. But again, this is the northwest side of Bend. It's going to be Aubrey Buttes neighborhood. It's going to be River West, Old Bend, and Summit West. These are ultimately some of the most expensive parts of Bend. You got great views up on Aubrey Butte, sweeping to the west, sweeping to the east, the south, even to the north. You've got great views of Mount Hood, even Mount Adams, and Mount St. Helens up in Washington. Just great pieces of land. And this is all in close proximity to Century Drive, which is the gateway to the Cascade Lakes area, the Mount Bachelor areas, and whatnot. So let's look at some of the data. 97703 Northwest Bend saw 613 sold homes over the course of the year, and the median size home was 2269 in terms of its square feet. So quite a bit bigger than the northeast side, about 500 square feet bigger, and then about 300 feet bigger, square feet bigger than the south side of town. And the price point sold was $1,084,000. Compare that to 715 on the south side. Compare that to 622 on the northeast side. So significantly higher numbers in terms of what the prices are on the northwest side of town. The original list prices over there are roughly 1.2 to 1.3 million dollars. Average size of lot is 1.56. That has a lot to do with just how far out and how rural some of the zip code really is. But I hope that, say, some of this data provides some context for you. If you're getting into the market, we'll use a whole year of data, the last 12 months, to provide some perspective. We know that the northeast side of town is going to be the most cost feasible, the most affordable, the best place for new entrants to enter into the market as maybe first-time home buyers. Or if you're from out of the area, maybe the east side, somewhere, the northeast or the southeast side, that could be a good spot for you to look for the first home as you embark upon your journey in Bend, learning the lay of the land, get into a more affordable house that'll give you some extra money to maybe go out there and learn more about what's going on within the area so you can prepare for what comes next in your life, whatever that is. Our goal is to help you find the best house the first time, but there's also things that you learn after living in Bend for a while that you can't be taught just based off of conversations or watching videos for a while. You got to learn the makeup of the area. The south side of town is booming. There's a lot of action over there. We've talked about it at length before. Caldera High School's there. It's about 3 or 4 years old now. That's where a lot of the development takes place around new high schools, and we're seeing that happen right now. We watched it happen with Summit High School 22 years ago, where it was just a school and nothing but dust and sagebrush and a couple of trees out there on the west side of town. And then sure enough, Mount Washington Drive was inserted in there, and the Northwest Crossing began. And then the rest of those subdivisions started to follow suit. Discovery Park wasn't even a twinkle in the eye of the west side of Bend back then when Summit High School first opened. But now if you're over there, you understand just what it has become and just how spectacular it really is. We're looking for similar things to occur on the southeast side of town where Caldera High School is. But what we do know is that the most expensive part of town, the most desired part of town, is going to be the northwest area of Bend right now, with $1 million plus, almost 1.1 median home price for that particular pocket of Bend. And then we have the more affordable areas in the south side as well as the east side. So this all makes up what Bend really is. To give it that annual median home price of roughly 720 to 730, maybe a little over 730 over the last 12 months. But we use more local data when we're comparing homes for when people are in the market. But if you're gearing up to gain a perspective as to what happened over the last year, to try and use that as a clue for what could be happening here in the next year as you prepare to enter into the market, please use this video and understand that there are certain parts of Bend that are going to command a higher price point, of course, and there's going to be more desire for one part versus the other. Obviously, if it's a more affordable area, there's going to be more people that are eligible to make a purchase over there. If it's going to be a more expensive area, if you're up on Aubrey Butte, there's going to be less of a buyer pool. There is a buyer pool, but there's going to be less of them. Some people have homes that they're going to be listing for $3 or $4 or $5 million over the next year too. Well, you understand that there's going to be a very, very small percentage of people that are going to be eligible for those homes, and that usually takes a toll on those homes as well. If you're buying a home like that, always be considering, think to yourself, how long has this home been on the market for? And will I be able to sell it when I want to, when that time comes in 5 years, in 10 years, et cetera. So all these things need to be considered, especially if you're getting bigger homes, more expensive homes. You always want to be thinking about the end game first before you make that purchase, especially if it's a custom home, a more expensive home, a home that's going to be less available to the masses. So hopefully a video like this has served you in some capacity, and we gear up for the new year. We've got about a week left in 2024. It's crazy how fast the year has gone by, but we're going to be gearing up for 2025, expecting that one to go by even faster than the previous year in 2024. So Thank you for watching this. My name is Ryan. I'm a licensed broker with eXp Realty. If you haven't liked the video yet, please do so. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. If it's your time to reach out to us, we'd love to help you in some capacity. Give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. If you're local, let's go get that coffee and we can talk about where you're at in your journey and we can see if Zach and I can be of service to you along the way. We'd love to do that. So again, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.